Be you on Facebook or be you on the tube-a-you. I hope we are live. And what is Bruce doing? He's wandered off with a tight lines, fisherman. And that brings me very nicely into Greg, Oz by Drone, who I did a video with last week. I can't even remember what day it was, Greg, but we spoke about Tim French. And Tim has had a bit of a problem with your Civil Aviation Authority. And I asked you earlier if there's any updates. So are there any updates, Greg?
We did speak, and definitely there's no significant update about that particular issue, other than I did get a formal statement from CASA that they are investigating this matter, so that we know. We do know that Tim has had the men in the jumpsuit come and visit them and take some things from their home. But other than that, we also do know that CASA are also having a look at them for another video. So there's a video clip where I think it was in March or May earlier this year, they did a world record attempt for the highest catch, dropping a cricket ball from a drone. And I understand that CASA are now actually having a look at that video as well, with the premise you can't drop things from a drone in an unsafe manner.
Wow. What is to be said about that? Yeah, that's well. See, I always get caught out because in America they do seem to let you chuck out stuff just as long as you promise it's not going to hurt anybody. Whereas in the UK, South Africa, and Australia, the only thing you can drop from the air is water or finely divided sand. Be you in a glider or a let's add Alex. There's Alex from Drone Run. Hi there, Alex. I'm Toby as well. Oh my word!
Hope Kazza didn't see my toilet roll drop the other day. That'd be terrible, wouldn't it?
That would be terrible, yeah. Look at that. This thing's put them in two opposite corners. That's very good, isn't it? So we were just talking about Tim in Australia and the problems he's facing. So then, would I be right in thinking, Greg, that they'll go for him? I guess the Bunnings one's been sorted, but it'll be fishing and the cricket ball and Bunnings, or just fishing and cricket ball?
Well, the Bunnings one's definitely old. It's well and truly old news. They're already definitely into him for the fishing one. The cricket ball, I understand they're having a look at next. But at the end of the day, people do things that are inherently dangerous as part of recreation and as part of sport. People go skydiving, jump out of planes. You've got a perfectly good plane. Why do you jump out of it? Because there is risk and, the adrenaline factor. People are doing those kind of things. If someone wants to sit underneath a drone and watch it drop a cricket ball and try and catch it, people should be allowed to make a conscious choice to do that. It's not the Department of Fun Prevention in our airline and aviation regulators, or is it?
Might be if you prod them enough times with a stick.
Did you not know adrenaline is now a controlled substance? You've got to have permits before you can have adrenaline. It's lethal. It's like heroin.
Adrenaline injecting rooms.
Well, dear. Well, I wish him well. Whatever happens, it feels like they're out to feel his collar for certain if they're going for multiple things now. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. It is the one with the least of the fine sticks, which I suppose would be the cricket ball.
This is the problem, though, when you've got regulations and there's not enough people to enforce them. They tend to make examples of people. They'll pick one person and they'll throw the book at them to try and scare everybody off. And it makes for a very unjust regulatory environment. If you can't enforce your regulations, don't make them.
Yeah, but by the same token, if you've got your regulations and you don't enforce them, and I mean, Gary and I had a big chat about that when we spoke about, shooting aircraft out of the sky. And I made a mistake when we last spoke, Gary. That LiDAR aircraft I read in the Canberra Times was actually worth $500,000, according to the news report, if you believe it. But CASA did nothing. You have something where there was actually an aircraft accident caused by a third-party interference with an aircraft, and no, let's sweep that under the rug. But if someone wants to have fun and enjoy themselves, that's very, very bad.
We had the same situation here in New Zealand. Someone shot at a drone with a shotgun and went to court, and the judge said, No, well, he was flying over your property. He could have been flying over your property. No proof he wasn't. But you don't have a right to shoot down an aircraft that flies over your property anyway. So it was non sequitur. It was, irrelevant. But it seems like the judges read the Daily Mail as much as anybody.
So, Bruce, can you go and shoot at a helicopter the next time one flies over your house?
You mean I'm not supposed to? I'll put that gun away. Hang on.
Yeah, they're picking and choosing what they want to enforce, aren't they? Which isn't good for the industry in the long run. It's not good for anybody. Yeah, I'm bewildered, and they still have you still have evidence that they have made no attempt to investigate those 2 shoot downs that we spoke of.
Yeah, worse than that, they had. I did speak to ACT Policing, who did actually refer the matter to CASA and the ATSB, and it's not on the ATSB official accident report. So it was referred to them, and then they made it go away. So the next time, again, a passenger airline has a crash, someone tells them about it. Are they going to make that go away as well? No, it's only because it's drones, and it's the drone pilots that are bad, not the other people that are around them.
There's got to be a little bit of law that covers that. They can't possibly be allowed to do that. There has to be. Or am I being super naive?
No, it's covered, but I think they've done the wrong thing, and there's nothing. What do we do about it?
Well, escalate it as far as you can up the ladder, I suppose. I don't know where the buck stops.
But all the rungs on the ladder are broken.
Yeah, the rungs are broken. At the time that this happened, I did call the minister's office, and I spoke to a ministerial transport representative, and that seemed to go nowhere as well. So I don't know where you go. I've got to put it in writing to the minister's office and CC it to every news organisation around and ask them, why is it that aircraft get shot out of the sky and your regulator does nothing?
Yeah, no, it's not cool, is it? All right, well, let's part that now. I know you're expecting a call, Greg, so if you have to disappear, just wave and we'll say cheerio to you.
I'll say I'll disappear now. They're hitting me up in another private message now. So thanks for having me on briefly.
Mate. All right. Look after yourself, and I hope it goes well for Tim. Take care, mate. Cheers.
Thanks, bye.
Cheers. Well, let's move ourselves on to Toby and Alex from Drone Run. Drone Run. What on earth's that about, gentlemen? Who wants to pick that ball up and run with it?
Good question.
It looked like a landing mat. What's it all about?
Yeah, so it's an accessory for drones. It actually, the landing pad is only half of the accessory. The other half is the checkpoints, which make a series of sensor checkpoints, and then with that you get a full time trial course. So the idea is to take off from the landing pad, pass over checkpoints, and return back. So yeah, it's something that can kind of grow. It's not just kind of one pad and a few sensors. It could become far more than that. But in principle, it's a game that keeps flying low to the ground and makes it something you can get better at and improve your drone flying skills in principle.
So is that what you were looking for, a training aid? Is it a racing game you're going for, or is it a training aid you're going for?
Well, I think we're still kind of trying to develop how to understand exactly what this thing does and why people really want it or need it. And I think at the moment it's kind of 50-50. We're not kind of swaying to one more than the other. It probably needs to be one more than the other, but at the moment it's a bit of both. And I guess as we go down in through the Kickstarter route, we might get feedback suggesting it sticks to more the training aid and less of a game, perhaps. But I think we're open for it to go in either direction at the moment.
It seems like a little bit of blue sky thinking on your part. How did this idea wander into your minds?
It started, we were creating little courses in our garden at the time because we had a new Mavic, we were flying it around. We had some great opportunities to take some amazing footage, but we started seeing the drone more as like an RC plane. We grew up with remote control flying, went to airfields, and we wanted to create some kind of fun course in the garden. So we'd fly to say, near a tree, fly back and make a little map that we'd land on. So we thought a great way to make this more real is to build our own pad and to time it and find a way we can create this course without having to time it on a phone separately, and a way to have a responsive, some response from a sensor or something when you fly near it, so you know you've actually accomplished the course. So it went from there, and then we were developing all sorts of pads and sensors to make the game as fun as it could be. And then from there, we realized it was training us as well. We were pretty agile when we were flying around the course. We were landing. The first landings were awful. We weren't landing properly. And we played it some more, and then we realized it's a matter of just trial and error. And now we play it, we're pretty good at it.
And how's it work? What's sensing what? Does does your RPAS have something on it that's sensed by the pads, or is it just sensing it flying over the top? How does that part work?
So we've got ultrasonic sensors in the timing module of the landing pad. So when the drone takes off, the sensors detect the drone leaving, trigger the timer, so that starts, and then you fly to the first checkpoint, which also has ultrasonic sensors. You fly within a proximity of 30 to 50 centimeters, and it will activate the sound and the beep. And that would be your kind of feedback from the first sensor. Then you fly to your next one. It could be another 10 meters away, around the course that you've designed. And then you would hear the beeps and the flashes, see the flashes from all the sensors and land again. And that would trigger the timer that stops the clock.
How close did you say you could fly? Sorry, my connection broke up. How close to the sensor have you got to get?
So it's within a proximity of 50 centimeters above the sensor. So It's quite close.
And do they communicate with the base pad over Bluetooth or something like that, is it?
At the moment, for version 1, we're keeping it independent, so it's not really smart at the moment. But once we develop this concept, we plan on launching, version 2 with Bluetooth that pairs them together, and then maybe an app that you can have to show a leaderboard, something like that. So this is the core of the game at the moment.
And then I'm just thinking about the flying training aspect of it. Would you set that up around, I don't know, let's say we want to put a tree in the middle of something, so you could fly nose in around the tree and get used to doing that by flying over the mat and know that you're in the right place because you've triggered the noises as you go around. Is that sort of part of the thinking?
Yes, definitely. We could take the sensor off its stick, put it on nearer to the ground, so you could play with elevation. We could take them further away from the tree, so you can start to set off and change the radius. So it's quite customizable, which kind of allows every user to play a different kind of game and to train different types of skill that they see necessary, really.
I see. You're very quiet on this one, Bruce. It's unusual to have you so quiet.
I'm always quiet.
I'm just looking at their website now myself. I'm just looking. I quite like the sensors. They're quite interesting. So you basically fly past the sensors. The sensors give you the notification that you've been picked up, and then you come back to the pad, and that locks the time off. So the idea is, whilst there's no comms between them, as long as you hit all the sensors and land back on, that's going to give you your circuit time. Yeah,
exactly, and you'll know.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? It as you say, it's going to be very interesting to see it from a training point of view. As I said, if you're training kids or something to fly as well, it's going to mean you can say, right, okay, try and hit them on the way around and see what you can do, and it's going to train.
Hit the children.
Hit the children on the way around and then fly the drone. I thought that's how it worked. But you're going to be able to teach them, making sure they understand proximity, distances, and things like that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it relates back to flying RC planes and actually having that kind of sight of, line of sight flying, being able to kind of interpret left and right, whether it's coming towards you or whether you're flying away, getting an idea of how these things fly as machines and not kind of just watching a screen and hoping it comes back.
Yes,
so I think those methods are something we kind of want to bring people back to understanding.
You mean back to basics, and
Exactly.
actually learning to fly the thing rather than just because you're right. Because people get completely lost, don't they? When they look down at the screen, and as soon as something goes wrong, they're not in the loop at all.
No, exactly.
But they're not supposed to be, of course. But of course, the CAA doesn't believe we need any of this training, because all we need to actually do is answer. Was it 10? I can't remember how questions it was. 10 or 20 online questions.
16 out of 20.
16 out of 20, and then we're away with no need for any sort of flying tests. So, you're doing the advanced stuff here, gentlemen. Shall we move on to that topic and dive into drone runners? We think of other things. Oh, it's on. Actually, where is it at the minute, chaps? It's on Kickstarter, I think.
Not quite. So we release next Monday.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got some good feedback, building an email list, trying to get everyone excited about it. So hopefully when we launch, we can keep the ball rolling. If we have a success, get this to market and kind of really we have a kind of a market in mind, but we're trying to kind of craft it so it becomes meaningful and kind of well made. So yeah, that's where we're at.
I think there could be a future in this, because if we look at it, a lot of people are going to have drones, and they've done the usual stuff, gone up, looked around, getaway airliners and whatever, and then what can we do with this damn thing? We've done everything else, and there'll be the add-ons, like things where you can actually use your drone to play a game, or maybe you can fit infrared lasers and receptors and have dogfights and things, little things that we're going to turn your otherwise getting boring tool into something that it reinvigorates the whole use of that tool, because people got money tied up in these things. They want to keep using them, and it will just extend the useful novelty lifetime period of a lot of these things for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, we hope so. And like you said, there are kind of limitless amounts of games and scenarios you can create for yourself. I feel like we're only really touching the surface with the takeoff and start a timer and fly to a sensor kind of principle. There are ideas that you could perhaps, ascend to a certain height before you're allowed to return back to the course, or whatever that might be. But we're looking forward to kind of developing that kind of response to the ground and fun aspect. As I think that's why we're torn. And at the beginning of this, I did kind of highlight that we're a bit unsure whether it's training or fun, because there's quite a lot in both, and it's a lot of fun you can have, but then there's a lot of good from developing these skills. So I think that's why we're a bit torn between the two sides of this product.
What's the price you guys are hoping to get it out for?
So we're retailing the pad for roughly £60 and the sensors for a further £25, but we're cutting that by 30% on Kickstarter.
Okay.
So you can get each package starting at £63. But we lay out certain different types of packages. We have the standard kit with one pad and one sensor, and then it goes up through tiers to professional kits and training bundles and dual playing kits, so you can race or you can compete with another player side by side. So we've got quite a few kind of packs laid out for different types of consumers, whether you want to race yourself or play with friends, and that will all be available on the pledge section of the Kickstarter page next week.
Splendid. Well, we wish you all the best of luck with that. Yeah. These things are always nerve-wracking. I see a couple of people in the comments where he said they've signed up, so let's hope there's more to come. That'll be grand.
Yes, fingers crossed. Yeah, I hope so.
Good show. Let's move on to the elephant in the room. Not really an elephant in the room, is it? The CAA in the UK have said all sorts of things today. What the bottom line? The bottom line is they're very generously letting you have it all for cheap. And if you're in one of the big organizations, you can be done and dusted. So there's no fuss. I mean, what was the problem anyway?
You going first, Bruce, or me?
I think Gary summed it up. Let's move on to something else. It's a very cunning, cynical ploy, in my opinion, my honest opinion, by the CAA. First of all, they dropped the price down to £9, so people think, oh, it's only £9, we'll sign up. And then when they've got the details. So when you then in a year's time, you've got to renew at maybe £25, and if you don't, they know who you are. They'll track you down and lock you up. But it's the BMFA is saying, oh, we've scored a victory here, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry, but I can't actually see the victory. Everyone has to register. The victory would have been when CAA said the hobby of model flying has proven to be very safe over a long period of time. You guys are not the problem. So as long as you're flying on your own little fields, which we know about, you won't have to register. That's what should have happened. That's what happened in Canada. It's what's going to happen in Australia by the look of it. But no, CAA has really done nothing to. All I've done is said, if you've got your BMFA A cert, or if you're a commercial operator, you don't have to sit our ridiculously stupid 20 questions exam, which apparently proves competency. Now, I would like to know, if I go into the CAA and I fill out the theory test and eventually after many, many tries get it right, can I then go and fly Cessna 172 without any training? Am I competent? I don't think I am, but CAA has multiple meanings for lots of words, like aircraft. Like a Casa in Australia, an aircraft includes unmanned aircraft. Unless you're shooting at one, unmanned aircraft don't count.
Yes, yes.
And
yes.
We have competence. Competency is really important if you're flying a manned aircraft. When it comes to flying an unmanned aircraft, it's just fill out 20 questions and try and get them right. So words should have fixed meanings, not variable when it suits. Otherwise, if your regulations are not intransigent, if they're not fixed and firm, then they're worthless because they're open to interpretation. No one's going to do what they should do. They'll just do what they think they should do. But no, I've encouraged, as you said in my video, I've encouraged people not to register, because the only way to defeat the system is to show that it doesn't work. I mean, look at the age verification scheme they were going to use for online porn, and that was eventually they gave up on it. It was law, it was legislation, it was going to come into effect, and then finally they backed down because it was a shambles. And if model flyers can show that this registration system is a shambles, then hopefully they'll have no option but to back down on it. And one way to do that is not give them your money. They can't keep funding this thing internally forever. So if it does cost millions of pounds a year to run, then if there's no revenue coming in, the bean counters will say, oh, we're not having this, we've shut that down. And the thing that everyone should be repeating time and time again to the CAA and the government is that committee report that says registration will do nothing to reduce the risk. So why do you have it? That's the bottom line. If it's about risk, fair enough, but it's obviously not about risk. It's about something completely different, and that's not the purview of CAA.
I'm not clever enough to do the maths quickly, but if you reduce the thing from £16.50 to £9, and the £16.50 relied on 170,000 people signing up, how many more people need to sign up now if the sun is in the west and the moon's just rising?
Well, that's my point. That this is the bait. This is to lure you in. It's only £9, but they're still going to have to. They have an obligation to recover the cost. So the price is going to go up by a huge amount. And once they've got your name and address, you can't just back out, because they're going to want proof that you've disposed of your drones or whatever, or they're going to come and knock on your door, like with a TV license in the UK. People are constantly getting knocks on the door. We want to see you've got a TV set. It'll be the same. Show us your drones, or you go to court and you get hundreds of pounds in fines.
Yeah, I mean, they've spent 4.1. I guess that 4.1 is budgeted, but it's 2.8 million a year ongoing expenses for this this database. Surely they're not going to, because there's carve outs, isn't there? You've got a little bit of a reprieve, I think, if you're in the BMFA and some other organisations, and into next year, I think, and then you'll be able to use their testing systems. I've seen FPV UK, you can answer their 10 questions, and that'll be considered good enough, because really all the all the CAA wants out of the organisations is your details.
Yeah, I'm not sure how all of this is laid out, because there's documents. The document doesn't quite spell that side of this out. They've split this as it was originally intended into two sections. You have a flyer ID and an operator ID. Now, the flyer ID is the test that you will be required to do, and everyone is required to do this. That only needs to be done once every 3 years, and that is free. So that is the online test aspect of this. And then you've got the operator ID section, which is for the responsible person. So either you being over 18 as the flyer, or if you were the parent of the child, you would have to do it. And that is the bit that costs £9. Now, much to the annoyance, it seems, of some organisations, the BMFA, AR Pass, FPV UK, and the Scottish Modelers Association have been allowed to get access to the CAA system and basically register on behalf of their users if they want them to. And there is a caveat in that, is they're not doing it automatically. You will be able to say to them, will you register that for me, that £9, and that cost then would be put on top of your annual subscription to their service, and they would do that bit for you. Now, the bit we don't really know about is, are they also going to be allowed to provide that every 3-year test part of the Flyer ID? Now, there is a couple of caveats to that Flyer ID, that if you're a PFCO, you don't need to do it. Or if you're a Class A holder with the BMFA, you won't need to do it either. But there is also some crazy stuff in this. For instance, PFCOs don't have to do it, yet they still have to go on the CAA website and register, completely separate from their annual registration. So not only do we have to go on and do it, we have to go on and do it at a different time to our normal one, because this comes into law at the end of November. So unless your renewal is at the end of November, you must go on and do this. And then they will give us a special permission to say we don't need to do the test. The test is free. I may as well actually do the test. I don't know actually what they're giving me here. They're giving me 5 minutes of my life back. I bet you I'll spend more than 5 minutes trying to apply for the permission that they're going to give me to not need to take the test in the first place. So I suspect my life will be simply easier just doing both bits of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah.
The other thing, though, that test is every 3 years, right?
Yes.
So to prove you're competent. But they're changing the rules in the middle of 2020. So
Yes.
the knowledge that they've proven will no longer be relevant in some areas, and there'll be new rules you don't know about. So you will have to wait 2.5 years before you catch up to the rules. It's a fiasco. And the other thing is that these organisations are registering you with the CAA on your behalf. Will they do them a TV licence and a car licence as well while they're at it? Because there's no benefit to them doing this.
I've said from the beginning on this, I do not see any of the organisations getting a free bone, and they haven't here. A lot of them are jumping up and down saying we've been successful. All they've managed to do is get the agreement that they can register on behalf of their members with their permission. Other than that, there's no free pass here. Every model flyer will be required, short of control line, to do this, that whether it be plane, drone, or anything else. Now,
What are you talking about? What's happening? What are you talking about? What do you mean? I've not heard about this. What on earth are you talking about? I know, I'm doing a bad job of it. I am astounded that even today, people are jumping up and down online saying, I haven't heard anything about this. What's going on? I cannot believe that people haven't heard about this still.
No, it's nuts. The basics are from the 4th of November, this will be live. You must be done it to remain legal by the end of November, unless you are a member of one of those 4 organizations, because we are all being issued dispensation till January, when those organizations can register on our behalf, because that's when their membership comes up. So here's an interesting one. I'm a member of both the BMFA, but I'm also a commercial operator. So now I technically don't have to do this till January because I'm a member of the BMFA. Therefore, I'm getting dispensation. However, they're saying as a commercial operator, I don't have to do the test, but I have to where do I stand? Where do I stand in all of this as both of those things? Am I better going with the BMFA? Am I better registering before? It's bonkers. It's utter bonkers.
And also, I want to know, why on earth would an organisation like the BMFA incur the cost and the overhead of registering on behalf of their members? It's no benefit to the BMFA, and it's no benefit to the members either. Why do they even want to be in the loop? Why do they consider, we've taken on all this extra work and responsibility, we've won a victory? No, you've volunteered your time for no return. You've got better things to do with your time as an organisation. Why aren't you out there protecting the rights of your model flyers and looking after them? Why are you doing the CAA's bidding for them? It's wrong.
I think, to be fair, like FPV UK, BMFA, and AR Pass, I think we should be fair to them and say they have been fighting on this on behalf of users. I know FPV UK have been as well. I'm guessing this was all they were given as the bone. They were tossed and they've taken it. And I suppose from their point of view, they can say to their members, look, we're going to make this as painless as possible for you. So I suppose there are some benefits there. But as you say, there's also a lot of downsides to this as well for them. They're taking a whole host of pain on behalf of the government here, basically.
I don't see any benefit to members. I mean, how long is it going to take to register as a operator? And there's the other problem too. Little Johnny goes and gets himself Johnny's 12. He gets himself a little foam plane. He registers, gets his flyer's ID. But who owns the foam plane? Well, Johnny owns it. So who's going to operate it? Well, Johnny's parent. What if no one registers as the operator and Johnny goes down and flies his plane in the park? Well, he's got his flyer ID, and he could say it's not my plane. I don't own it, but I'm flying it. So who do they prosecute?
Yeah. It's the reality of we've ended up with what we thought we would end up is nothing. The only thing that's changed here is the price has dropped from £16.50 down to £9. And if we run the numbers on that, what was the numbers, Gas? 670,000 estimated originally?
170,000 at £16.50 each, sir.
So £16.50. So they were estimating 2.8 million quid.
That's right. That's what we said, wasn't it? So now it's going to be £9.
Yeah.
How many people do we need at £9 a throw for 2.8?
So at £9, they're only going to get 1.5 million in.
Yes.
Okay, that. So if we go to say 240,000, 2.1 million.
Oh, it's going to be a big number, isn't it?
But the other thing too is that people who've got they bought a little toy drone or
it's a big 1,000.
And they use it once a year.
Yeah.
Are they really going to register?
Over 300,000 members.
Well, it's a very popular hobby.
Over 300,000 to get to 2.7 million, which is just shy of what they were going to get in before. So, and that is still well below the 4 million quid that it's cost to set this thing up, allegedly, and all of the other associated ongoing costs that are allegedly in place. So they're estimating 300,000 people. Well, they need 300,000 people to get to the same money they were going to get to before. Not going to happen.
No, if you look, the sky's not filled with drones. And so even if there are 300,000 people with drones, most of them very rarely use that thing. So they're not going to pay and go through the hassle of registering because, I only use it once a year. No one's going to catch me. And so they're not going to get anything like the numbers they're talking about. And they're not charging anything like the money they originally talked about. So if everybody just says, no, and of course the winter's coming up. So I just say, as I said in my video, don't register until you have to, if you want to, which is the middle of 2020, because who knows what's going to happen by then. But the EASA regulations come in then, don't they?
Yeah,
and
they do. Yes, they do.
The EASA gives the governing state the option of not registering the people, doesn't it? Isn't there some kind of thing where they can? Yeah. So it's still possible for this whole thing to be canned, or at least be adjusted so that model flyers don't have to register. So I wouldn't do it until you really, really have to.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And, if we look at some of the numbers, BMFA, approximately 36,000 members. FPV UK, does anyone know how many that is?
I want to say 10. It's something like that.
Yeah, so between the organisations, we're going to be talking roughly probably 60,000 members between all of the organisations. That's a far cry from 300,000.
Only 240k missing.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
There's also been a bit of a stink over this cooperation as well with the BMFA, ARPAS, FPV UK. There's been a few whispers roaming around the forums that one or two organisations are not happy they were not asked to be involved in this either. Other organisations that represent drone users, whether they should be involved is a whole other question. But this has certainly stirred up a bit of a hornet's nest there as well.
Well, I think you sort of earn your spurs in these sort of things, don't you? If you've been around a while, like the BMFI, which basically in one form or other has been around since the start of flight, or maybe you've been in like FPV UK, they've been around for more than 10 years, I think, haven't they? So there's your pass to get into the gig, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
by time. Actually, this is a little bit like in the US, where they're currently the drone advisory councils meeting in secret. They meet in secret, and the EPIC group, I can't remember what that stands for, but privacy or something, information, something. But they're canvassing to have that brought out into the open to stop them doing it, because that is a group of manufacturers trying to create the rules over there behind closed doors with the blessing of the FAA. I can't believe that the regulators allowed to do that, but that's going on. And yeah, so I don't quite think this group's like that in being nefarious, but I think some of the ones that might be a bit miffed about what's going on might be the sort that would like to be meeting behind closed doors with the civil aviation authority. So it's good it's not worked out that way. No, I can't. I think I know who you mean. I'm not going to name names.
No,
but,
I've had a few runnings with them. Let's just say myself, and again, but it's interesting the fact of FPV UK, BMFA especially and ARPAS, actually, let's be honest, they've gone out of their way to try and do something here. And they all should be congratulated for trying to do something. At the end of the day, I didn't think for one moment they were going to get anything of substance, much more than lip service. My opinion, that's pretty much what they've ended up with. Yes, we've had a reduction in price. And does that really make a difference? £9 or £16.50 over 12 months, it's the price of a McDonald's. That's the reality here, what the difference is. It doesn't bother me. I don't like having to register specifically as a commercial operator, because I'm already registered. They know who I am. They know where I am. I have a number. All they've got to do is tell me to stick that number on my aircraft. They know this. I also have some big concerns, as we've all had from day one, of what happens when something goes wrong in your area, just like we saw at Gatwick. Because look, there was no registration scheme yet. A guy who was allegedly a drone owner had his house turned over, his life turned upside down, simply because he owned a drone. Now we're going to stick big red lights on our houses, in reality, from a law enforcement point of view, and they're going to come over and go, oh, there was an incident. You're the closest person. Where were you yesterday? By the way, we're confiscating your laptops, we're confiscating your computers, we're confiscating your drones until you prove it was not you. And that's my concern with this. You know.
And by the way, we must remember they're bringing in new police powers in with this. So it'll be a lot easier for Plod to come and knock on your door, open your car up, or do whatever. This is also part of it. It's increased police powers of search. I can see very quickly this being used as a, when they want to go, an excuse to knock on someone's door who doesn't have a drone. Say, we think you've got a drone, therefore we can come and look.
That's the thing. On the BMFA Facebook page, I put this because someone said, I don't mind paying a registration because it means that we're sorting out if someone isn't registered, then they're obviously the bad person. If it means I just have to prove my registration to prove I'm good, that's fine. But I'm thinking, hang on, the basic tenet of the justice system is that everybody is presumed to be innocent until they're proven guilty. You shouldn't be presumed guilty until you can prove your innocence. That's a complete reversal of how justice works. So this is an injustice on the model flying community.
Thing is, we got no hope. Like, I'm just looking at this article on the Telegraph, which has got a nice big bit on it that says Gatwick Christmas drone chaos in numbers. It's specifically about this rogue drones to be targeted by new high-tech group. Yet they're going on about Gatwick as if it happened. 1.4 million in cost, 140,000 passengers affected, and they're saying this is why this is happening. Yet Gatwick did not happen. It did not exist. I don't know how many times we still have to say this. It did not happen. In any sense of reality, there was no evidence of a single drone at Gatwick. Therefore, any reason they're giving for bringing this stuff in is lies. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm getting on my soapbox about this now. Now I've read that article.
So you've moved us on to the task force. They're going to be successful, aren't they?
Yeah. And how much money are they throwing at this task force? Let's have a look. Is there
millions, I think. Do they have a knife crime task force? I don't think they do, because knife crime's not really a problem, is it? It's not like these drones bringing down airplanes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trouble. It's wrong crowd, isn't it? We all know the answer. It's when will the stupidity stop? I suspect when this new group have caught hardly anybody and have cost a lot of money and caught hardly anybody.
I see DJI's lawyer on Twitter sticking up for the changes. Did you see that, Mr. Schulman?
Yeah, I think DJI have always been pro registration overall. I think most of the manufacturers have. I don't think has anyone come out against it from a manufacturer's point of view?
I don't think they want to get offside with the regulator. But
No.
why is it that DJI appear to be working on a sub 250 craft then?
Well, yes. I've just posted the link to Epic, and Epic are the I read it. Electronic Privacy Information Center. Epic has filed suit to enforce the transparency obligations of the Drone Advisory Council, a body created by the FAA to study and make recommendations on US drone policy. And of course, DJI sits on that, along with Precision Hawk and a few other industry players. And it's all very, very, very dodgy. Very, very dodgy indeed. Very dodgy.
Especially now that Google is starting deliveries in the USA, eh? Drone deliveries.
Yeah. Whatever. I seem to have forgotten to post that. I wonder why. Yeah, it's no real big deal, is it? And I have quite enjoyed the way people are sort of suggesting it's the first delivery in America, when of course it isn't by a long shot. And yeah, gee whiz, until they're just delivering stuff for people that forget to do their shopping. I don't get their proposition at all. I really cannot see that proposition of small packages over very short distances, annoying distances, ever holding true. Yes, if it was emergency medical supplies, I get it, but sun cream, I don't get it.
But what about the British man who's invented an aluminium air battery in his garage and sold the rights for millions of pounds? And it's got, if it was in an electric car, it'd give you 1,500 miles of range. So on a drone, it would probably give you hours and hours of operation. Is that going to change the face, make these urban mobility vehicles more viable?
Yeah, it won't make them quieter though, will it? Because that's the thing that did for them in Australia. That's why they got booted out of Australia and had to go back to America to continue. And that's what happened there. They haven't started in, was it Sweden or Norway? They had another place there, didn't they? Or they were going to. Some Nordic country they're going to go. And I was reading further up in our comments that crazy American thing. Senator Mike Lee, hang on, let's get up higher there. This one, the Drone Integration and Zoning Act of 2019, states and local authorities to control the first 200 feet, which they will rush through if there's a chance of that state or local authority then being able to charge Amazon for use of the first 200 feet. That will be leapt on by municipalities if they can.
Yeah, they're gonna want the income from that, aren't they? At the end of the day, there's a big cash cow they think is there waiting to be milked, and they're going to want to take a slice of that. The concern with that, obviously, is as there is across the globe of this constant push to keep us out and everyone else in, and keep us to 50 foot or whatever it is.
And of course, electronic conspicuity means they can just set up toll gates, automatically debit your bank account.
And did we see that Lilium electric jet?
Oh,
yes.
Seriously, who are they kidding? The most inefficient way of turning fuel into electricity is run it through a little tiny turbine with a single stage compressor. The fuel efficiency of those things is appalling. I don't know what they were thinking. Oh, it's good. It makes, maybe they have crypto coin in there and they've got a few 3D renders and things, but seriously, as a practical way of powering your drone electrical system, it is ridiculous.
Aren't APCs turbine driven on the back of aircraft?
Yeah, but they're much bigger. The auxiliary power units in aircraft are big, and efficiency of turbines scales. You know, as you get smaller, they get worse and worse and worse. And that's why we have these big high bypass turbofans on 747s, because they're far more efficient than the tiny little turbines. But even so, jet engines are an appallingly inferior way to turn fuel into work.
I didn't realise they had a turbine on there still, because they're making claims of all electric now. So can they still really have a turbine on board it?
I don't know. I think they do for ground-based operations, because they usually have a ram turbine in case the whole, all the engines go out. They have it drops down into the airflow.
Yeah,
but
the Lilium thing.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
No, I can only imagine what the noise of that thing would be like. If you watch any of their videos, they always have music. I do know what it sounds like. It sounds like music. That's what it sounds like.
Music with a guy with big headphones on the ground below it.
Ever shows a video of its noise. So that flew, and then the one in Bristol flew as well, didn't it? The 3-seater.
Yeah.
So that, actually, just up the road from you, you should have gone and got a ride, Ian.
Yeah, I'd have probably caused it to crash if I was anywhere near there.
Yes, I must admit, I've been
scams. Speaking of scams, have you seen all the promo for Drone X? The ads everywhere for Drone X. It's actually the Eachine E58. It's a knockoff of the Mavic, and they're coming HD video. Yeah, it's 720p, and it's 3-axis gimbal, but it's not stabilized, and it's full of jello. And it's this is they found the secret that there's two types of drones. There's cheap toys and my damn phone. There's cheap toys, and there are the more expensive ones which do the good job. And so by viral marketing, we can bring you the really good drone for a really low price. It's a cheap piece of Chinese tat, and they're flogging it off as if it's a Mavic. It's terrible.
Is this priced like $60-$70 or something like that?
It's $100 or something.
Yeah, there are so many that you see. They even call them Mavic, or they call them something like that. They don't use the words DJI. They stay away from the manufacturer's name, but they actually, Mavic Pro drone and things like that, and they're just total rip-offs, aren't they? And you got to feel for some people as well, especially parents and stuff like that, because little Johnny says to mum and dad, I want a Mavic 2 for Christmas, mum, or a Mavic or something like that, and mum looks online and goes, cool, they're expensive, and then sees the ad and thinks they're ripping me off and this is a great deal. And you got to feel for people on them a little bit,
Also, it's very deceptive, because in the advertising material they've got footage taken from mini quads doing loops and things, and they've got footage obviously taken with a 4K camera. This has got 720p camera, and they're passing it off as being taken by this drone.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's a fraud. It's an actual fraud, and people are falling for it. And the Christmas season's coming. They're going to make a fortune, and people are going to be so disappointed.
Are we allowed to say an actual fraud anymore? Isn't an awful lot of the world run like that at the minute?
Well, do you really think they're going to spend £9 registering the damn thing? I don't think they will.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's the that's the thing as we head towards Christmas. Every parent is going to need to do this for their child's drone, no matter if it's that pink Barbie drone that I know I'll be ordering for myself this Christmas. I love my little pink one. And there it is. There's a demonetization right there.
There it is. Yeah, that's a take one. Bruce has already done one. I can't remember what he said, but he's done already. Yeah.
I got told off for demonetizing your videos the other day, anyway, by one of my users. But little Johnny's going to get his little drone. Don't think little Johnny be getting the Barbie one, but he's going to get his drone, and then mum and dad's going to have to read all this complex paperwork and go, why the hell are we letting him do this?
But are they going to have to? Are they? Can't it just be there's no operator? It's Johnny's drone, but he can't register an operator, so he didn't. But he's a registered flyer, so that's where he goes. He said, look, I'm sorry, I've done everything I'm obliged to do, but I couldn't find anyone to take responsibility for to be an operator, but I'm a flyer, I've got my flyer ID, you can't touch me.
No, it's a point. Yeah, it is a point.
Yeah, no. Now, what else have we seen this week, gentlemen? What else have we seen?
It's been the Q Pilot conference over in
so
China.
It has, yes, the golden tickets.
The golden tickets. I tried watching a few of the live streams, considering it's the most technological advanced place on the planet. The live streams didn't really work properly. I'm looking forward to Philip actually putting up a proper video of that when he gets back. Not a lot of news from that right now, actually. I've been trawling and I've not seen any releases of product. I've not seen any tangible in-hand nieces. I think we're going to get some stuff that they've promised for a while coming in the near future. But I'm looking forward to seeing the proper thing. And then there's the golden ticket little thing that seems to be happening for next year.
I saw at the show, remember last Wednesday, I went and had a little chatette at the show here. But what I did see was more interesting was a VTOL, the name of which I can't remember. Hang on a minute. It's over there. I'll have a look. But the UDH group, but our Civil Aviation Authority, the bottom line is our Civil Aviation Authority has approved it for BVLOS flying out to a range of 15 kilometers with a HearLink radios. So I think that's the first properly approved one. And it uses that iris vision based detect, sense and avoid gear. So it's got the camera in the front. If that sees an aircraft in its range, it makes a decision and gets out of the way. And I asked them, thanks, Wavy Davey, thank you very much. I asked the man from UDH, well, what did they say about 360 vision? You know, because of course it's only going to avoid stuff that the camera can see. And he said, well, we just said, what does a pilot do? How's a pilot look behind himself in the cockpit? So that was the justification they used, and they've got it signed off. So I have a feeling that's one of the first commercial systems, or to be able to use it in commercial use, signed off for long-range BVLOS.
Yeah, and that's running the HearLink you said as well, isn't it? Yeah,
using the HearLink.
Yeah, and the nice thing with that is there's one thing that did come out the conference. Actually, there's going to be some updates coming for that in the near future, and some cool stuff around that. Actually, the way they're doing it with multiple nodes and being able to actually automatically transfer between multiple ground stations. The link's going to, rather than you bind just one receiver to the ear end, you're going to be able to actually have multiple ground units and actually daisy chain it along a path for BVLOS and allow you to actually do some of these incredible ranges as well with the system.
Well, I mean, you've only got to be able to put one on a hill a mile or two down the road, haven't you? And you've made out of a difference to your day, really. No, it's an interesting time. So I wonder if we are on the cusp of BVLOS proper now. Yeah.
And the thing, sorry, I was just going to say, do you know much about this golden ticket thing, Gary? Because I don't know a lot. I've seen a few hints around this, but I don't know any more than that.
Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
yeah.
Somebody will win a chocolate factory.
So while I've got Ian on the line, I've got that radio system which has got 30k of control link and 20k of video link.
Yes.
I'm going to review it. It's designed to work with ArduPilot. So what should I be using as my flight controller to set this up?
There are loads. It depends what you want. You know, if you've got, at the end of the day, if you're going to test this, you're not going to really, if you don't want to go out and spend money, they've sort of supported a lot more of the F4 boards now as standard within it too. So you want to just have a look on the list and see if you've got anything you can put on already. Unless you want to purchase one. Again, it's right through to Philips stuff with the Cube. You've got the CUAV stuff. The cheapest end, I believe, is some of the F4 Pro, I think, is supported. Let me just have a look.
F405
yeah,
isn't it? They all go on about,
that's supported.
Mytech stuff.
Yeah, and that's again, it depends what you want to spend, Bruce, at the end of the day. If you don't want to spend, you want to try and find compatibility with something you've already got as well.
I want free stuff. Someone send me free stuff. Come on.
Well, what have you got? I mean, have you got one of those 405 boards? That's the thing. You say what we got, we'll find out if it's compatible.
No, I'll have to buy one. I looked at the 40, the Maytech ones. I also looked at the Pixhawk, the Pixhawk type ones. And I don't know. I sort of, this is an area that I haven't delved in very much because I'm sort of flight controller reverse when it comes to autopilot kind of things. Yeah. And I'm just wondering what the pros and cons are. If you're comparing a Pixhawk thing to an F4 baseboard, what are you getting? What are you losing?
It comes down to really what you want to do with it. At the end of the day, a lot of the smaller flight controllers are ideal for Arduplane because you don't have the large number of IOs needed. You don't have the large number of serial ports needed as such. It's with regards to copters, it gets a bit more complicated because people want to run dual GPS. They want to be able to use a lot more external sensors as well. So you end up getting limitations around that. Philips stuff, is very, very good. You know, I've managed to get my hands on and play with most of it, and it is probably, in my opinion, it's the best flight controller hardware out there. But that doesn't mean you have to spend that much on it if you're doing it for testing, or you're sticking it into a fixed wing as well. There are some Chinese clone Pixhawks. At the end of the day, what I'd say is, if you're willing to lose the aircraft, go down that road, because you never know where you're going to end up with it.
I'll talk to Nicola about that.
Yeah.
Right, and all I'll say is don't pay anything too expensive, because you got Tim on the airfield, and he might well strike you out and smite you out of the sky anyway.
Why do you think I want to fly 20 kilometers away?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Maytech 405 wing is becoming very, very popular. And that's a fairly cheap controller, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And Chris saying Omnibus F4 Pro, about $35. That sort of a thing. That would be good. Just set it up, give it a go, see what happens. I guess it's what connectors does your radio come with, this new link?
Oh, it's got a connection that goes. It's fairly straightforward. It's got EastBus, and it's got a plug goes into the telemetry link or something, and that's about it. So,
is it digital, Bruce, or analog? Do you know?
I haven't checked yet. It looks like it's analog, but I don't know how they can make these claims, because that appears to be just one 2.4 link, so they must be multiplexing the C2 link. It's going to be very interesting, actually. I wonder if it's all just smoke and mirrors, or whether they actually really are going to get this sort of range. Now, of course, I would never fly beyond visual line of sight, so I'll never know.
Of course, you've got Chris just down the road. I forced to 2D again, who says F4 Pro, and he'll be able to set up for you. You'll take a while to explain it all to him, Chris. You know what he's like, but he'll get there in the end.
Someone will send me an SD card with all the footage on it, so I won't have to do anything myself.
Yeah.
Because I watched the video on it, and it's an interesting system remote controller, and as you say, it's interesting to look. It doesn't look like a digital system, but it doesn't really look like an analog one either, does it? It sort of sits in this. There's obviously a digital link there. If it's connected into a Mavlink, which is what it will be doing over UART, there's obviously a digital link there doing something along the control link. But the video, 20 kilometers. That's what Hearlink's estimating, and.
Yeah, and assuming that's like out of the box, and there's omnidirectional antennas, so I can't see it myself.
Well, what protocols do we know? It's not LoRa, is that, or anything like that? I see there's been yet another LoRa protocol. There was one last week. There's another one this week. So we'll see. There's all sorts of clever things out there.
Yeah, the antennas are only I tuned for 2.4 gigs by the look of it, and if they're going to run that much power, I fear for my man parts.
Yeah, that's make you wonder.
But I heard you leave it on a jar on the shelf anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
You're talking to my wife. Gee,
yeah, exactly. That's what I heard. Yeah. And Nicholas.
Sorry, we're going to have to head off.
Okay.
But thanks for having us on board. And
that's all right.
We've got a Kickstarter to carry on with. It looks like. But,
good show. Well, best of luck with that. And
thank you so much.
Your Elsmeg Head said that you'll just let you know that your sign-up email went to spam folder, so you know that. Good luck, and we shall follow you with interest. Send us press releases. Give us updates. Cool, guys.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Cheers, Ed. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Yeah, mine did as well. Just looking at it. It's just
really?
Yeah. Funny enough, I've just gone into mine.
Okay, we might we're looking at that.
Just take the porn ads off the bottom, you'll be fine.
Sorry?
Just take the ads for pornography off the bottom, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, sweet, because it doesn't look.
Yeah, that's annoying.
That's strange, very strange. I'm an Apple user for email, so just so you got an idea, it was
you.
Mine did as well. Weird.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. Hopefully the next one won't, but okay. All right, thanks guys. Have a good evening.
All right, Andrew. Cheers. Bye. Oh. No, did that. Now, what else? There was some other things. Was there some other things? I can't remember. So it's funny.
the bird strike on that US military plane. It was interesting information, wasn't it? That, $2 million worth of damage to a US military plane, and there are 3,000 strikes on military aircraft every year, and they're worried about drones.
Yeah. And of course, Skydio 2 dock. Skydio bought the dock out like we thought they would.
Yes, that's a point. That's what we haven't discussed. Yes. I was a bit, I don't get this, and I think I was quite alone in that. Because I spoke to some people in the background.
Quite alone, speaking to people in your head. Yes.
No, I think I just sort of went, it's a weird idea. And a load of people who I know in the industry come back to me and went, no, we love it. And I was like, oh, right, okay, perhaps I wasn't the target market, clearly. But there has been a lot of call, it seems, for a deliverable solution for a commercial environment where you can monitor daily progress on a building site and not have to mess around. So the aircraft just does its own thing, does its daily things, and lands back in. They say it charges. They say it. They don't say if it downloads the data. Did they? I tried to see what it said it did about the data. Does it automatically hook it up via connections, or does it wirelessly transfer the data over? But it clearly looked interesting. The demo didn't go too well inside. I don't know if you saw this. They did have a little bit of an accident where they showed it indoors and it found the wall a little quicker than you would have expected. But it's always risky doing these things inside anyway, at the end of the day. It was more marketing stunt than anything else. But interested. They're certainly getting a huge amount of interest in the hobby world and the business world, commercial operations world as well.
Well, bottom line, DJI don't have a product like it, do they? So they're far ahead, and with that, so there's a couple of leaps now for DJI when they bring their version out, because everyone thinks that this thing coming out this week is going to be just like the Skydio 2. It's got to be able to work out of a box. So yeah.
My only concern with any drone with this level of autonomy is it going to get legislated to hell and back? That's my only concern. Is, if you watch a couple of the videos, the gentleman on the bike went through and it threw around through the garden under the tree, and it's fantastic. That was of it is that they can be unpredictable, and whilst it navigated that wasn't his property, that was someone else's property. And what if there was a person in the garden and something like that? Some of the imagery I've seen, it's looking really good. I think everyone keeps saying this word Mavic killer, and there's been a few people doing videos on this week, so I won't go too much into it. It's not any killer. It's different to anything we've seen before. It really is. It really is. They've sold a lot. Did you see the video about their manufacturing? That was quite interesting. They've put a video out on showing their manufacturing, and there was a huge amount of hand assembly in that. And they're going to have to get away from that and gear up to automated pretty quick, because from the numbers they look like people are wanting of this, they won't be able to cope.
Yeah,
my question is, who registers for the flyer ID with the Skydio? Because no one's flying it.
Oh, well, Ian mentioned it last time. There's a button at least for return to home, I think. And so what level of control is control, isn't it?
But in that demo with the little auto recharging thing, it's fully autonomous. It's scheduled to do a thing, in which case, who is the flyer of that craft that's doing a scheduled flight? Also, you're talking about I think it almost fell off the charging dock when I saw it landing outside. It sort of bounced, and it wouldn't have taken much more than a gust of wind to knock it onto the ground. So...
It is. I think they were interested in their demos. They've been trying to show it will do it without GPS. I believe the landing is entirely vision based. They're not using traditional sensors to be able to do it. They're using the whole vision system to actually do it, and that's why you saw it doing this bit of I'm not sure why they would have made the landing pad so small.
I know. Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. That they had some confidence in their product by doing that, didn't they? Really?
Yeah.
So it can fit back in the box.
Yeah,
so
I'd have had it land on the box. Had it land on the box and gone in, and have a lid come over or something.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be weatherproof, would it? To the same, it'd be more difficult to make it weatherproof.
Yeah, I suppose.
Why can't it just fly up from underneath?
Yeah. It's extremely interesting. I still have this whole battery thing concerns me. I still can't get my head around a magnetic battery. There was actually a really good unboxing video this week. I say really good. It was very long. Actually, who was it by? It was by FreeFly. The guys who own FreeFly Systems also know the Skydio guys. I believe they went to MIT together or something like that, and they put an unboxing out of it early in the week, and you got a really nice close look at the beacon and the remote, and you saw it a lot closer than you've been able to see it before. And the way they show the battery on is literally that, and they're just going doot, 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 doot. And just there's a scary thing in my head about that the battery is just on there with magnets. But let's hope they've done their due diligence on that side. Like, you know, my only reservation with this is Karma had batteries falling out of the back, left, right, and center when they were locked in with latches, allegedly, and they were slid in from the back, and we were seeing issues. And that's the only reason I'm just thinking, I'm not sure I trust magnets, but it could be the best thing in the world.
Yeah, but they've definitely got a pretty. So my mate of mine's ordered one, and he's in batch 4. Batch 4 he's going to be in. So
they've got huge amount of interest, and I it's interesting. DJ, I have nothing to worry about. I tell you who I would be really worried is if I was Unique,
yes.
And Atal and the others, and Parrot even, because Skydio have managed to create a buzz with a product that isn't even in people's hands, that none of the others have ever been able to do. I don't know about the numbers, but I wouldn't be shocked if they've done more pre-orders than the others have sold drones all year, just from what people are saying. And I don't know where it leaves them. That they have to be sitting there scratching their heads at this, because Unique and the others, they haven't been able to get a home run yet. And they make great products. You know, the H is a fantastic drone, yet it's not exciting people.
Blues Flyer, I'm going to disagree with you. They've had their first product out there, so they've been a bit beyond Lily Drone. They have had a product out there, and there is quite an evidence or a group of evidence to back up their claims. I think the only thing that lets it down once you've seen it is there's two things. It's the quality of the camera. I'm surprised it's not greater, and the motion isn't all that fluid. But that said, it's pretty good considering no one's doing it.
And actually, when you're saying that, the more videos I've seen the motion begin to fall over a bit more. The more I've seen guys trying it, the more I've seen it a little bit more hesitant, a little bit more, oh, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do that. And some of the movements not following quite as I'd expect. But it should be anticipated that it is still in beta. It isn't, it's still not in full release at this time. And I do know what you mean with the camera. Chroma was visible. It wasn't handling bright light particularly well, and there was you were beginning to see the limitations of a smaller sensor come into play. But $999.
Yeah, and if it falls off that box, I mean, how many flights does it have to do inspecting a cell tower once a week in the middle of nowhere to recoup the value of some engineer having to go up and drive a little bit closer and hand fly a Mavic round? It won't take many trips of an engineer to pay for that thing, and so it falls off every once in a while, and you get a new one. Well, that's the cost of business.
But you could buy 10 Drone X's for that.
Well, yes, that's true.
Yes,
yeah, that's true.
I think what's different is these guys are legit. I think there's no question that their background is 100% legit. You know, when you look into them, they are from, they've gone through the mill. They've worked at some fantastic companies. They've got huge backing. You've got NVIDIA. You've got the chip manufacturer behind them as well. And it shouldn't be underestimated, this US drone thing. This whole
that might yet come to pass as well. But I have a feeling it'll get buried under a degree of confusion that's about to occur over there. But
there's a huge hunger for it, though. There's a huge hunger for a US manufactured drone. It doesn't have to be the best in the world. It doesn't have to necessarily.
I wonder if they've pulled this vision-based navigation into ITAR, or because it's not GPS equipped. If they get away with it, because they're selling them overseas now, I think, aren't they? Yeah, they aren't, or are they?
No, it's US only at this time. The UK won't be until next year.
I wonder if they're being poleaxed by ITAR.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. As I said, I think everyone's going, "Ooh, DJ needs to see what they do next." I don't actually think they do. I don't, even if they don't ever bring a vision-based, this level of vision-based drone out, I don't think it's not the same as anything else. This is a fly-in action camera designed to get in and close and do stuff none of the others can do. I think it's a tool in the box, and it's another one. I'd have it here tomorrow, and I'd have it next to my Inspire, and I'd have it next to my Mavic, because each one is different and they can do different things. But I said that the big concern's got to be Unique and Parrot. Parrot, not so much, but Unique I don't see where Unique can go. I honestly don't see what they can do next. I honestly don't.
Well, they're not unique, are they? There's plenty of other people doing exactly what they're doing. There's nothing unique about them.
And it's a good product. I had I had a play with. There's many bits about that drone I thought was some of the best there is on the market. The controls for the camera is by far better than anyone else's, absolutely hands down. But no one seems to want them, and that's a tough position to be in. You can have the best product in the world, but if no one wants to buy it,
yeah. So that's the Scolio 2. What else have we seen this week? Nothing. Lots of regulation stuff. We'll see how that shakes out in the coming week. I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots and lots of comments about what's happening in the UK and what else are we expecting. No, we're not really expecting anything.
No.
So with that, I will say, dear viewer and dear others,
just a reminder to BMFA that if you're sending Christmas cards, New Zealand's a long way away. You better get mine off before they close down.
Yeah, that's the one with the little razor blades or poison darts, isn't it? Yeah.
Anthrax laced.
Yeah, so there goes that monetization again. Pick a card, any card. Yeah, dear viewer, whatever you're doing, wherever you are in the world, have a very safe rest of the week. If you're doing some flying, be safe and enjoy it. If you're in the UK, get it done before you have to register. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. See you again at 2100 GMT next week when I'll try and be a little bit more awake. Cheers for now, guys. Look after yourselves. And now the double ending broadcast button. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye. And there's the other one.